And welcome inside episode 60 of the Breaking Bats podcast presented by Not For Long Media. My name is Justin Ayers, and I'm joined once again by Ryan Ribkin. He's sitting in the co-pilot seat for this episode. Back after a couple weeks. It's great to see you again, Ryan. We have so much awesome stuff coming up on this episode. With a good interview with a great buddy of yours, Tyler Nevin. So, Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm sorry for the little hiatus. Had to make some rounds. I did get to go to spring training though, so that can be something we can kind of dive into later. Went down to the Sarasota, Tampa region. But yeah, overall great. And honestly, having Nevin on, Tyler on was a blast. I mean, yeah, you'll notice for the ones that listen, you get going with guys about certain moments and stories. And Tyler and I played together in 2021, and it was just above all great catching up with a friend.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I loved about I wanted Tyler on because I knew you knew him, but also you have that innate stuff built in where it's people are going to enjoy hearing the back and forth and talking about your famous fathers and growing up in a baseball family and playing in Norfolk at Harbor Park. There's things that I wouldn't be able to ask and really dig in about. But I'm glad I had you with me because I think it's gonna be a really, really good episode for people that stick around. So very thankful that Tyler gave us an hour, and very thankful that you were able to reach out on my behalf. So it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I think so. And I think he'll be back on in the future, which will be the fun part. But he's great, and I think that's the beauty of it all too, Justin. When people are able to come on, you learn even more about than just hearing the name and seeing a face. And Tyler gives some really great perspective and insight to his own path and journey.
I love it, dude. It was so much fun. But this episode, it's episode 60. And we always like to do the episode number correlated to a Major League Baseball player's jersey number. We're getting up there in the double digits now. We're at number 60. So they're a little bit few and far between. Mostly pitchers, I've noticed, that wear the high double digits there. But for 60, we're going to give this one out to Michael Givens. I'm so glad he's back in Baltimore. I had so many great memories of watching him, those great runs that the Orioles had there in the late 2010s. But I'm glad he's back. Funky delivery, hard thrower. And did you had to have crossed paths with him at some point, I'm assuming?
Cross paths with just being in the organization a little bit. Denver really got to know him, but he definitely was a part of and coming up. And actually, if I remember correctly, he wasn't a pitcher to start off his career. And he transitioned from being a position player and that's usually, it's always kind of a for guys, they worry. It feels almost like a death sentence when you're being told that, hey, we want to switch you. We want to see if you can pitch. And you're thinking, oh no, I hope this works out. And in his case, it really worked out. So it was cool to see. And I think another one, isn't Kenley Jansen a similar situation? Wasn't he a catcher? I'd like to say. Could be wrong with that.
Undrafted free agent catcher by the Dodgers in 2004.
So I'm never wrong. Just edit the last part out if I'm wrong. Never wrong. Kenley, but the point is, it's cool. It doesn't happen a ton, but those are two examples right there that have gone on to have successful careers in the big leagues.
No doubt, man. So we're gonna bring back fill in the blank, a little news roundup for everybody here. So the way it's gonna work is I'm gonna give a prompt. Have Ryan and myself fill in the answer here. So this first one, in honor of the World Baseball Classic, which is in full swing. I'll be honest, I've only really watched Team USA. I know there's been some great other countries playing. But Team USA, they beat Great Britain 6-2 in their first game on Saturday. And then last night, I stayed up way too late to watch them play Mexico. Joey Meneses of the Nationals, 2 home runs. Not great for, the guys in the red, white, and blue there. So they ended up losing 11-5, USA did. But that's all to say, fans of Team USA and USA Baseball should feel blank about that loss to Mexico and how their pitchers have performed.
I'd feel anxious. And it's mainly just because of, I'm not worried about the USA can't win, but the only thing that gets anxious now is these tiebreakers. And I believe the tiebreaker is on runs allowed per inning or per game, I think. So the 11 runs given up was concerning. I think the other part too is the USA play, and again, it can go either way. You know, just some of those big time stars haven't been playing the way that you've seen if you've been watching the rest of the World Baseball Classic. World Baseball Classic. You know, Santander is just Tony Taters is going nuts for Venezuela. Rosarina was another guy also that is having a great World Baseball Classic. But the U.S. hasn't had that yet. So that's a positive that it hasn't happened, but you're anxious about, well, are they going to get going or can they move on? Because baseball, if a starting pitcher's on one day, can change the complete complexion of the game.
You're absolutely right. When you're listening to this on Wednesday, they will have already played against Canada. But for the sake of you and I right now, this will all be moot here in a couple of days. If the USA loses to Canada, it would put them on the brink of elimination. But if Canada wins, it would be, potentially a path to advance to the quarterfinals in Miami. So that has no relevance on Wednesday. But for the sake of us talking about it, but the World Baseball Classic is interesting. And like, I didn't know that the pitchers have pitch count limits. So in the first round, pitchers can only throw 65. Quarterfinals, it's 80, and then semifinals and championship, it's 95. That's a hard way to manage the game because you're relying on bullpens. You're going deep into your stockpile of arms there for Mark DeRosa. But I think this all just kind of comes back to the lack of like dominant starters that agree to play for Team USA. Because we talk about this lineup, it's Mike Trout, it's Arenado, Goldschmidt, Mullins. Like it's like the dream team of baseball. But for starting pitching, they didn't really get those guys. You didn't get the Scherzers. You didn't get the Verlanders. So I don't know if you've picked up on that same thing, but anxious is a good way to describe it.
Yeah, no, I think they still have some good arms. Just to your point of when you're looking around, well, why aren't the U.S. have some of the elite at the top of their game right now? But again, the USA does have some great pitchers, but the different situation too is, and this is where you're trying to get ready for spring training, but you're playing for your country and you can see, especially with some of these countries where like they're passionate, it means something more. And for the USA, it does as well. But for some of these guys, you're in the back of your mind of like, look, I want to pitch well as a competitor, but I want to stay healthy. I want to be okay because you're trying to go and win a World Series. So that's the fine line of it. But make no mistake, it really just takes one good outing to get that confidence going. And I do believe, though, with the pitchers that the U.S. has, they can make a run, but they are going to need some of that star power in that lineup because let's just face it. I mean, we're seeing it across with other teams. The USA is going to need some of those big guys to step up to especially win a World Baseball Classic.
I think that's very well said. That's why, like, I was looking at the roster of pitchers and I'm like, where are the aces, the true number ones? Don't get me wrong. Like Adam Wainwright pitched a great game in that first game. Right. But like Nick Martinez was okay. He kind of got hit around a little bit by Mexico. They have like Merrill Kelly, Miles Michaelis, Lance Lynn, Kyle Freeland, Brady Singer. These are like 2s and 3s. They're all very, very good pitchers. Probably most of them will do 30 starts and have a sub-4 ERA, but it's like, it would have been nice to have one of like the elite of the elite. But I guess you don't want to sacrifice, like, if you're going on a team that's like, if you're Scherzer and you want to pitch deep into October, do you really want to be put, stressing the arm in the middle of March for high pressure situations? Probably not.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, who doesn't want Scherzer or getting hurt or whatnot is the Mets, so, yes. And that's the thing. And that as a fan, like as a US fan, I want to see them win. If I was a Mets fan, probably not caring as much about the World Baseball Classic, and it just where your allegiances. I personally, I obviously, have ties with the Orioles, but I love seeing how much it matters to the players. And if something were to happen and they were doing something they loved, it wouldn't bother me. But it doesn't mean it's not going to matter to someone else, where some of these fan bases have been dying and starving for a chance at a title. And the Mets specifically, like they are hungry for it. And Scherzer would be a huge part of that. If he isn't healthy, that's a huge blow to a team like the Mets. So take it with what you will. Should be fun. I mean, but it's been a blast, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Like but actually you brought this up real quick. The late starts. I know
They're
it's in
killing me.
Arizona, but can we please make the games at 8 or 7? Just move every game up. I know maybe it's inconveniencing other people, but on the East Coast, these late games are rough.
These like 9 p.m. I think was the other night. Tonight, Monday nights, 10 o'clock Eastern. So get the coffee, put a pot of coffee on if you want to watch USA and Canada square off. It's obnoxious how late these things are going. I can't, as a 9 to 5 job worker, I can't be staying up till 1:30 in the morning watching World Baseball Classic baseball. I just can't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a night owl, so but having said that, I'm not always looking to dive into a game that late because if I get too amped up in a game, then I'm definitely not sleeping. And that's exactly what's going to happen. It's like, come on, here it is, and then that's how I felt every time. I'll tell you what, every time the Ravens had primetime games and I'd go to a football game, when the game ended, I was too amped up to be going to bed right at midnight. You got to let the adrenaline, and the energy drop. So especially if you see I'm watching Venezuela right now, any of those teams, I'm getting fired up. I don't want to go to bed. I want to go root for one of those squads. It's amazing.
It is hard as soon as the game ends to just flip the switch and be like, all right, back to reality. Time for bed. Like it is
all
hard
right, go to sleep just like that.
Screaming at my TV for 3.5 hours. Yeah. It's a lot of fun though. I need to watch some more of these games. I know I always try to make it a point to watch Team USA, but there are so many other, like I saw Israel played the other day. Like there's things that I would like to watch and players from teams that I follow that are playing. So it's like, yeah, let's try to expand that a little bit. So much baseball.
So much baseball.
It's the best.
We love it.
One player that I wish was on Team USA, but he's with the Orioles right now and he's crushing spring training is Adley Rutschman. You'll hear, a good portion of our interview with Tyler Nevin. We talked about Adley Rutschman, but with the Orioles right now, go ahead grand slam over the weekend, 2 home runs in spring. Last year, 13 in 113 games. Let's look ahead though. Let's do a little over under for our guy, Adley Rutschman. The over under for 2023 bombs for Adley should be set at blank.
23.5. I was going to say 24.5, but I'll say 23.5, mainly because I think he has all the ability to hit 30, but I'm not going to put that expectation on him. I think the over and under initially, what I saw with some betting was 16.5 or something like that, or 17, which if that's the case, hammer that. I don't put bets down on baseball just because, you never know being involved with it. But if I was a betting man, I think Adley's going to hit over. If I'm putting 23.5, then that should speak for itself.
I didn't even know that that number had been calculated by, sports books and odds makers. I just thought that this would be, I guess you're right. I had 24.5 was the number I had in my brain. Cause I think he's getting 25. I'm taking if it was set at 24.5, I'd still hammer the over. I think this guy, he only played 113 games last year. He missed all of April. And I think, what did he get? Call it May? So mixing a little DH in there. I don't see why this guy couldn't be 25, like you said, pushing 30. So it's gonna be a fun year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if a fully healthy Adley playing a full season, I think he gets 140 games in, and obviously he's not going to be catching 140 games of DHing. And with that, with his ability at the plate, I can see it, especially even though I know they moved the wall back and left, but still a nice place to hit it to right. And he's definitely got power from both sides.
Oh, it's the best. So next up in fill in the blank. So we had the Reds play-by-play man, John Sadak, on last week. It's got me in a Reds mindset, man. I got to be honest. I was diving deep. I was looking at prospect lists. I was looking at, guys they have coming up this year. But the mainstay of the Cincinnati Reds lineup for so many years has always been Joey Votto. And he came back to action for the Reds for the first time since August 19th of last year when he had surgery to repair his left rotator cuff and bicep. Didn't realize his whole arm was messed up. If you had to put into words what Joey Votto means to the Reds, what would you say? He means blank to the Reds.
I was going to say it's not the right verbiage, but, he underappreciated, in some cases, underappreciated for the Reds. And again, it's not the right verbiage for it. Joey Votto's been through a lot of things with that team. And I think sometimes we get lost with how special of a career he's actually had. And so I shouldn't say that the Reds are underappreciated. I think it's just he has been a foundational structure for them since he came to the big leagues. And those guys, especially nowadays, seeing a guy stay with one team as long as he has been really cool to see.
Yeah, I guess I wrote that with the word everything in mind. So yeah, you can play around with how you want to phrase it, but he does mean everything because I love one team guys. He's been there for so long. I think this is the last year of a 10-year deal he signed. For so many years, it was always like, when's this guy going to start hitting for power? All he does is walk. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I can hit 36 at will. In 2021, he had 36 and 99 ribs. So yeah, he's just the heart and soul of the team. I've loved anybody who comes on who's associated with the Reds asking them questions about Joey, just because, like John Sadak said, he's like one of the most interesting men he's ever been around. He's like a true Renaissance man. Like his passions are run deep, and he's very well read on so many things. So one of the most underappreciated, undervalued, like whatever you want to call it, like he is a superstar, and he has been for a very long time. And if you're a Cincinnati Reds fan, you have to be loving seeing him suit up for, the Red Legs there. So it's been great. I can't wait to watch him this year.
Yeah, I mean, 2007, I was looking it up. So he debuted in 2007 at 23 years old. He is going to be, or how old right now, he is 39. So imagine that it's been the entirety of his career has been with this team. And let's just face it, it's just not the same anymore. Seeing guys with one organization. And it's special. And that's no knock. It's just the reality of it. And to see it happen. And, the big names, the Yankees had a couple with Jeter and Mariano, which was cool to see. I just always seeing the transition of someone grow up and Joey Votto really, his entire adult life has been being a Cincinnati Red. So,
and that means a lot. Yeah. I like it from a fan's perspective because that seems like a guy that you can just go buy his jersey and have it be relevant. There's nothing worse than when you buy, a $200 jersey of somebody and then they get traded or leave or whatever. So, I think as a Reds fan, it's like all the Pirates fans that have McCutchen jerseys. I don't know. Hopefully they didn't do anything to them because, this is just like the things we think about. Yeah. You don't want to be rocking somebody who's like 3 teams back. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, imagine you bought a Turner and Max Scherzer Dodgers uni. Well,
no,
that was nice in the moment for a few months, whatever it was, and then, but hey, maybe that's a relic now, and you can hold that on and maybe sell it at a different time if you're a player. But yeah, it matters. It's cool to see that. It's cool to be like, yeah, that guy's a Red. That's my guy. Votto's my guy. Yep.
Yeah. I hope he keeps playing. I hope this year, fully healthy, full season. Joey, come back, do another year. Like, the power's still there, still play mean first base. I don't want Joey Votto to retire because that would be a very sad day around the game of baseball.
For sure.
So I had like one last one for you, and then we'll get to our interview for this week. A couple of extensions were handed out. A couple young players got their bag. The Diamondbacks and Corbin Carroll, 8-year extension worth at least $111 million guaranteed money. And then the Washington Nationals locked up their catcher, Keibert Ruiz, for 8 years. I think it's like 50. Could be wrong on the number there. This should, blank other teams with young talent around the league. How should other teams with young talent around the league feel watching Corbin and Keibert get their bag?
This should encourage other teams. I actually had a discussion with this with a couple high school friends the other day. And they were talking about, because again, being in Baltimore with the Orioles and the younger players, because they're seeing this. Because it's great, like seeing what these young players got. It's fantastic because you're stabilizing. Now, could they eventually, if you bet on yourself and you wait, like for sure. And I do think that when people talk about the Orioles and Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson specifically, it'd even make more sense for Gunnar being younger than Adley's already went through college. He's a little bit older. But for Adley's case, I wouldn't want to take a discount because I'm betting that he's going to be very good for his time you're going to wait. These younger players, they're taking the money as given to, and then they're hoping they can get a second contract, but they're guaranteeing themselves some stability. And for that reason, a team should inquire about it. If you believe in a young guy, Braves doing this for a while, if you believe in a guy, give him some money up front, and you'll find a way that you'll save some. And then you got to bet that guy's going to work out for you. And if it does, it's a win-win for both sides. And it's just nice to see for certain guys, but I get it. You're afraid that it's going to blow up in your face. But for those young guys, absolutely. You get a big contract. What was it? 111 million for Carroll?
Yeah. Over 8. So it's like a little less than 14 a year.
So again, like the average value isn't much, but if you're telling that a kid that hasn't played more than 100 games in the big leagues, right?
Oh, less than that. Yeah. I think he's like 30 or 40.
And you're able to solidify yourself. It takes the pressure off of you as a young player too. Now go out there, play your best ball. And when the time comes, go get that second contract. So we'll see. I mean, what's your take? How do you feel? What's the blank for you?
I think this should light a fire under other teams. I think this should be a wake-up call, because if the Arizona Diamondbacks, who I think they had a surprising 2022 season. They had 74. That was coming off of a season the year before, but they had 52. So their trajectory is going up, and they're trying to have guys locked up, to be the core of that next, great franchise out there. But there's so many other teams that this could easily apply to. The Orioles obviously came to mind first with Adley and Gunnar. I could see. That's a great point, though, with Adley being a little bit older and Gunnar being, that so much younger, drafted out of high school. Like, you could draw the parallel with him and Corbin Carroll. Carroll's 22, Keibert's 24. So it's kind of the same boat. But this should absolutely, if you believe in a guy and you're the number one prospect in the game or whatever, like what's 14 mil a year to, it's a win-win scenario. We can get him at a dollar amount in 8 years, like buyout free agency for a couple years. Like, sign me up for that.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like everyone will believe that you're going to go off and make more money. You're going to get a bigger contract, but there is still the uncertainty. This is still life-changing money. This is, and especially with how great the Players Union is for MLB. That's in getting that money, and it's the guarantee like that you're getting that money. It sets yourself up and it validates what you've done so far. And for teams, it makes you even look even better that you're paying your guy. So the optics of it looks great for everybody if you choose to do it. So I'll be curious if this will be a trend that moves forward. And to be honest, I mean, it's worked out for the Braves. So you're seeing it's been productive. So it's not a negative thing. There's been a lot of positives around playing your young guys early, paying your young guys early.
It's just like there's no downside. Yeah, like the Atlanta Braves have been doing this for so long, and we've talked so much about this on this podcast, where it's like they're handing out 8 and 10-year deals like they're candy, but they have there's a method to all this madness, and you might look at it and be like, what? Only $82 million for Michael Harris or whatever it was. It's like, he just came off of the minor league career where he's probably having to like scrounge up for meal money depending on where he got drafted or whatever. So, throw me $82 million and I'll be a very very happy man.
Yeah, you get a bag, you get a bag, you get a bag.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, give them the bag, let them go out and play and not feeling like they have to play with something over their shoulder, and they can just focus on being the best ball player they can do or best ball player they can be. Awesome. Now, the downside is, again, if they stink and the money goes down the drain, well, that's the reality of it. But again, you believe in your guy. You think he's a cornerstone. You're calling him up at this age. All right, pay the man, pay the guy.
Yeah. And plus, like, it's good for the player because if Corbin Carroll turns out to be a generational outfielder, he's going to hit free agency at 31 years old. So it's like, you're still young enough. And this free agency, this offseason has proven that, like, if you're good in your early 30s, you can still make a boatload of money. It's not the kiss of death being 30 years old anymore. I mean, Trey Turner got, 11 years, Aaron Judge got 9 years. Like, all these guys are going to get paid until they're 40. So, the game has changed. I love it. Like, if you're a fan of that team, you can just know that, like, Ruiz is my catcher for the next 8 years. Carroll's my center fielder, or I guess he's been a corner now. I love that. It's my favorite thing, and I hope it continues. Hopefully Orioles will open up the checkbook a little bit, get some of their guys locked up. But in the meantime, it's a very fun thing that's happening right now.
It is. It's exciting. Again, talk about good branding and marketing for the next generation of players. That's great to see. And
yeah,
you just hope for it. And also the other guy that you missed on cashing out at still getting another contract at 30. Manny Machado just got another massive deal. So I mean, he's like, yep, I'm done after 5 years and getting 150 million. Let me get another 350 million. Right? That was the deal. So it was, I think 10 years, 350, or was it another 300? Regardless of it, I'm pretty sure he just bagged $500 million from the Padres.
Yeah, so he got, I know the first one was 10 for 300 because that was an even 30. And then the second one was 11 for 350. So
boom. Right around, I mean, his career earnings, it's pretty good. 30 years old, they're still handing it out. You get a bag. Love it.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Well, cool. That's all I had for the news this week. Our interview with Tyler Nevin, we talked about it at the top. It's fantastic. I hope you guys stick around and listen to it.
Yeah, let's get out of here and get to the interview. You guys are going to love it. Enjoy. And, hey, I'll see you guys next time. What's going on, everyone? We got another special guest. And for me, it's even more special because it's actually one of my former teammates. Tyler Nevin is joining Justin and I today. And background, Tyler and I were teammates. I mean, I'm losing my mind a little bit, Tyler. 2021, right?
21.
That's when our friendship just blossomed. Tyler's now with the Detroit Tigers, and we're just pumped to finally get you on. So, Tyler, welcome to the Breaking Bats pod. How you doing?
Doing great, Rip. Always good to see you. Justin, nice to meet you as well. Happy to be here. Let's chop it up.
Yeah, we'll chop it up. I mean, it looks like you have a lot of downtime. I don't think a lot of people understand. It's a lot of hours and then a lot of sitting around the hotel room or going to Longhorn Steakhouse, whatever works, floats your boat.
Yeah. It's not always super glamorous. I'm in wonderful Town Place Suites Marriott, and it's doing good. It's got a bed, it's got a TV. I sleep, I go to the field, I come back, I sleep again.
Just the standard life of spring training, and you're a very simple man, so it makes it very easy.
Yes.
Justin, I'll let you jump into the questions, and then I'll badger Tyler when I feel like it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did want to take it back though to start. So obviously growing up in a baseball family with your father, Phil Nevin, what's the earliest thing that you can remember about being around the game, whether like being in and out of a clubhouse, maybe running around the backfields? What's the earliest thing you can think that you can remember?
Yeah, I bet you Rip can attest this too, but you're always rooting for Dad's team when it means you get to go in the clubhouse afterwards. So honestly, it didn't matter what he did any one of those games. I just wanted the Padres. He was mainly with the Padres when I was growing up. I just wanted the Padres to win because that way I could go down, hang out with the boys after the game, enjoy a win with them. And that's definitely probably where I fell in love with the game, honestly.
Absolutely. I mean, so your dad played until you were 9, then he coached after, but like, what was that experience like growing up? Having him like, gone for long periods of time, like what was the family dynamic like during that time?
Yeah. So fortunately enough, he was in San Diego established for most of what I remember. That 2000 to 2006 range, I was 3 to 10. And just being able to be in the same area all year long, off season and during the season, was great. Spring training, not too long. We would go during spring break for us for school, and so he was gone, for road trips and stuff. But for the most part, it was just a couple weeks at a time, and he'd be right back home. So we were really fortunate in that regard. As I'm learning now as a player, it doesn't always work out that great, being able to be at home for majority of the year.
I love that. And plus, like, and this is probably where Ryan can jump in too, where it's like when you started playing baseball yourself, like, was there any like extra pressure to perform or like internal or external factors that kind of affected the baseball journey for yourself?
Yeah, not for my dad ever. It's just kind of a sense of responsibility. Like you want to kind of live up to what people think they might see in you. But my dad was always great with making sure that it didn't come from him. He always wanted me to play other sports, push me to do other things. I just happened to take a liking to baseball, but yeah, not from him, just, the normal stuff you hear, especially in San Diego growing up with the Nevin name in that time frame. But it was nothing I would ever dreaded. I was always really proud of my dad and my family. So, it was something I took with me, and I tried to make myself better out of it.
And Ryan too, like I imagine the coaching that took place, in the backyard. I feel like that has to be like one of the coolest experiences to have somebody as talented as both of your fathers were, just having that person be the one to teach you the game. Like that had to be like the coolest thing ever. Yeah.
I think it's cool I think it's kind of when you look back, I think at the time when you're a kid, that's, like Nev, that's how I felt, at least, is when you went and you were excited to be in the locker room because it was fun. It was cool, but you didn't really know anything differently. It was just an experience. You got to be at work with your dad, and to see the guys. And for me, it's like that was just the cool part, but it wasn't kind of, wow, this guy's really good at baseball. This is just my dad and just another element of exposure. But I mean, now I think, you could touch on it too, but that's just kind of how I felt. It was, you appreciate the lessons from your father in the game as you get older, but at that young of an age, you're just kind of valuing, just time with dad.
Yeah. The lessons aren't really learned, sit down, here's your lesson. It's just kind of absorbing what's around you, really. Rip, you were around plenty of Hall of Famers in Baltimore, San Diego too, with Trevor Hoffman, Tony Gwynn, and they were basically just dad's friends. They weren't these idol figures of that you get starstruck. I just grew up around them, so it definitely helped when I got into baseball of realizing how everybody, is human and everybody's just playing baseball. Really, there's obviously some that are better than others, but I think the lessons learned are kind of just the experiences that go with it, and just observing people at the top of their craft and enjoying what they have to offer.
Was there one thing that maybe like Tyler, that maybe like your dad like tried to instill in you? Maybe it doesn't have to be like a phrase or like a saying or anything like that, but like the way, like how you play the game right, or like I'm sure that had to be a big part of growing up with him as your father.
Yeah, again, nothing that he sat down and tried to ingrain into me, but just watching him, how he interacted with the people in the clubhouse, how they went about their business, how he went about his business. It was really cool looking back. Something I didn't probably notice in the time, but definitely stuck with me subliminally. But now looking back, like that's kind of what sticks out the most, I would say. Yeah. And just it's really cool when I get to think about those experiences. And not that I took them for granted, but I would have loved to be back in that moment to really fully understand what was happening in front of me and enjoy it that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like you're a sponge. You're a sponge, Justin. Like at those times where, they might not all stick out, but I remember personally, I started doing things as I got older because I saw my dad do it, and not because he taught me it. It was just the certain mannerisms and how they carried themselves. And that was a small thing. One, I knew that was actually a pet peeve of my dad, is when you pick up balls in the cage, of the efficiency of picking up the balls in the cage. And that was and that, like, for me, is looking at, I'm like, well, why are you getting so caught up with that? Like that bothered me. And later, it's like, that wasn't a lesson. That was just him getting mad. So each time as I got older, it's like, all right, I got to be efficient with picking up these balls because it's wasted time. If it's wasted time, I could have this done, be ready for another round. And that's a little thing. Or the simple nature of after a game and taking the time to talk to somebody that just spent money to watch you play. And, that was just things I watched. I'm like, oh, like that's cool. He's spending time. And as a kid, I'm like, oh, I want to go in the locker room and like eat ice cream and just run around the training room or whatnot. But as I got older and you see the same reactions of what, our fathers did, and you can see the joy that those families had to come see. Like, I think those are moments. And just wanted to say that because I think like that's where I feel like the whole baseball nature of growing up comes from, of what we experienced. It was the sponge effect. And then as we got older, we're like, holy shirts and pants, maybe we were a little bit more like our dads than we thought.
Getting a lot of that these days, especially, my dad played for the Tigers for a little bit, just a couple years, but there's still some guys that were around then that are here now. And he also, when he got back into the game, his first job back into affiliated baseball was managing for AA and AAA for a combined 4 years for the Tigers. And now there's a few of his players that at that time I was 13, 14, 15, being in those locker rooms, observing those games. And some of those players are now coaches in the system, which is kind of funny and kind of cool to see it all come full circle. So I'm enjoying the spring training.
That's fascinating to hear. Yeah. Well, Tyler, I saw that, you played in the Little League Classic for the Orioles this past August. I'm curious though, what was Little League like for yourself? How did anything kind of stand out? Like what was your time, those young ages playing baseball? Like, what do you remember about that?
Yeah. So until I stopped playing Little League, I stopped a little earlier in California. There's a lot of travel ball. It's kind of year round more so, and not as much, football or basketball, but until I stopped playing Little League, every time I saw a shooting star, I blew on a dandelion. I always wished to play in the League World Series. I loved watching the League World Series every single day or every summer. I would watch any game I could because I always thought it was cool that kids my age were on TV. And I always watched my dad growing up on TV. I watched other players grow up on TV, and I knew I wanted to play on a big stage. And so in a way, I kind of got it. I kind of got my wish. I played in the League Classic. I played in Williamsport. But I always dreamt of my buddies and I being on TV and winning baseball games. So it was a really cool experience just to see the purity of it. Honestly, kids that played earlier that day or the day before are sliding with us down on the hill, or they have a game later that night. They got the Gatorade stain all over their mouth, it's just like, it just brings you back, just to a time when the game was like very simple and you basically were just having fun.
I love that. Ryan, did you want to jump in? Anything stand out for you?
Yeah. One, actually, Nev, you ever play at Williamsport before they redid it?
No, I wasn't a part of the New York Penn League. Didn't have the.
Well, yeah, I just was clarifying. I didn't think you were because you started with the Rockies, but old one was a little bit of a death trap where the dugouts were, because it honestly had to walk a mile to the home plate.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it just was a hazard, in the dugouts, and you lost your confidence hitting the ball to center field, but that's irrelevant. Where I wanted to go with this was you brought up the enjoyment and the excitement of, Little League, like why we play the game. And I remember, we've talked about this before of when we get into pro ball, it's awesome. You're excited about this next step, but then it becomes a business. It becomes about, it's your job. And even though you love it, you have days where it's not the same sensation that you had when you were 12. So maybe could you touch on, how do you remind yourself in moments where, you don't try not to get so hard on, hey, this is my livelihood, but also you're trying to remember, like, I love this game. I don't want to lose that passion for it.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important to keep that passion up, because playing angry, playing upset is no good for anybody. It's not good for the people around you. It's not good for yourself. To keep bringing up, my dad, I said he never had like sit down lessons, but this was one of them. I remember, it was my senior year of high school. I was going through the playoffs of our section. California doesn't have state championships. They just have sections for the cities. And we're going through a run, we weren't a highly seeded team, but we were making a run. We ended up winning it. And before the championship game, my dad was telling me, I want you to enjoy this, because there's not many moments like this in baseball where you're on a team collectively that just wants to win. Until you're in the big leagues and you're on a team that has genuine aspirations to win a World Series, this is hard to come by. And so just enjoy it. And he was right. I mean, as much as we try to pull it together, and have fun in the minor leagues, there's always everybody's common goal is the same, and it doesn't involve everybody around you. It involves getting to the big leagues. And that's kind of, it seems far-fetched sometimes when you're in A-ball and you're in places like the pre-remodeled Williamsport and you're out for your last 20. But that passion is paramount, honestly. There's very few people that make in this game without it. And they're just the ultra talented, God-given players that were meant to play this game. But that lesson has stuck out to me because it teaches you every year. It's pretty apparent. Like everybody goes through these stretches where it doesn't always, smell like roses, and trying to get back to really just enjoying the game as a whole is what usually brings you out of those ruts and really starts to get you back on your feet.
Yeah, I mean, the other point too, I mean, collectively, Justin, how many times or like just teams of anything growing up? This could be even from when you're 7. How many times were you on a team that, won a championship?
No, definitely not. Yeah.
So I was hoping maybe like none.
No. Yeah. High school, little league, nothing. It was not. Yeah. That I'm just fascinated. Like when he was talking about the differences between minor league mindset and major league mindset, where it's like, I guess you're right. I've never thought of it like that. But when you're in the minor leagues, it is kind of more of an individualistic, like I'm just trying to get called up to the next level, as opposed to like maybe taking time to celebrate, like winning a South Atlantic League title or something. That's fascinating to hear.
It's the ugly truth. I mean, for moments, you get teams pulled together, and when you're in a competition, obviously you're trying to win. You're not only caring about how you did that night. But as a whole, like everybody's trying to get the big leagues, and you're certain steps away. And that's just the reality of it. Now, the first time, as truth be told, just like my dad told me, the first time I felt that again since being in high school was last year with the Orioles, with the 2022 Orioles, where it was a collective, hey, we're pretty good. We can actually make some noise here, and we can play some meaningful games in October. We didn't end up making the playoffs, but that was so fun to be around. Just 26 guys all pulling on the same end of the rope. It was a lot of fun.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the thing, Justin. The point I was getting to is not to say that you had won 0 championships, and I'm sorry for that. The point coming out was it is so hard to win in anything that you do, and I think that we get caught up with moving forward. And in baseball, in this world, when the moment comes and you move into pro ball, and that changes from in the high school where you're with your friends and your buddies and you're trying to win, that's all that matters. Even college, you go there, you're still trying to win. Once you get into baseball, it changes. Now the mindset is I need to keep my career going, and then it truly doesn't come back into full circle until you make it to the big leagues and you're able to be a part of it for a longer part of it. Like that is the ugly truth that Nev said. But that was awesome. I was pumped for you guys last year, especially with all the guys, playing with, especially as brutal as 2021 was. I will say, even though in pro ball, we were saying about all the winning stuff. Oh, it's individual stats. When you're losing, and losing sucks.
Thank good.
It's not fun. And even if your mindsets are different, for us in 2021, I think, Nev, what we start off, we went to Jacksonville and got our asses kicked.
Yeah.
It started and then went to Charlotte and had the same thing happen.
Yeah. So right around when I made my debut, our good friend Stevie Wilkerson was called up about a week earlier, maybe a week and a half earlier. And when I first got called up, when I made my debut, it was in the middle. I don't know how many games I ended up getting to, but it was a long losing streak. It was the longest of the 2021 season. And Norfolk at the time was having a similar scuffle. I think ours was a little before that, but anyway, our friend Stevie, he got called up in the middle of the Norfolk scuffle. And I think, 8 or 9 games, 10 games, maybe. And I think he got called up the very first day of the Orioles' start of the losing streak in that 2021 season. And when I got there, I, just asking him, like, hey, how's the vibe? Like, what should I do and not do, basically, because I'm making my debut. Stevie's been around a little bit. I'm just trying not to piss anybody off. And he goes, dude, it's frankly, it's not that great right now. A lot of people not happy. I don't think I've won in a month, is what he told me, because he went, I don't think he went the whole month of May without a win, because he went from the Norfolk losing streak straight to the Baltimore losing streak. And he just kind of realized that in that moment. He's like, dude, I haven't won in a month. And I've heard of some streaks. I don't know if I've heard of that, but it was just kind of one of those moments where you just laugh at your own misery, That's how you get through it too. You laugh, you don't cry.
Did a lot of laughing and a little bit of crying, but
yeah.
Sorry, we got a little off script there, Justin, but yeah, that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, I love the original question, which got to there, but I wanted to tell that story.
The thing is, I remember Wilkie exactly. Yeah, go ahead, Justin.
No, this is good though, because I actually had some questions about playing in Norfolk. So our other co-host of this podcast, Brian O'Grady, he has a great rant about playing in Norfolk, playing in Harbor Park, how he lost probably 4 or 5 home runs to the wind coming off the bay or whatever it is out there. Did you guys have similar experiences playing in Harbor Park? Is that not a hitter friendly place to play?
It's not great for a righty that likes to use the whole field that much. That right center gap can be kind of a death trap. For me, I let it get to me too much probably early on, where I felt like that wasn't an option. So I had to get the head out, pull the ball. And that's really not my game. I mean, it might be where my results are, but that getting that result is because I'm using the whole field, really. So I let that frustrate me probably a little too much. But yeah, I mean, it gets to you a little bit, especially after you just come from a series in Charlotte and you're playing a Cracker Jack box. And then you go to Norfolk. But I mean, it's just part of it. There's plenty of stadiums like that. Comerica just moved the fences in about 15 feet, I think it was. But I mean, it's still a big yard. And at the end of the day, you just got to play the game and can't let that stuff get to you. You just got to be process oriented and do what you can.
Yes, mess with minds, Justin. And especially if a team comes in and puts up 20 runs on you and you feel like you can't score, that really messes with you. And unfortunately, Charlotte, I think, did that to us, where
that was the day I got called up. The day I got called up, I was checking the box score. Let's see how the boys are doing.
Boys weren't doing well.
Yeah.
Boys weren't doing well. We were I might have been out in right field for that one too. I don't even know.
Yeah, because I got called up and there was like 3 injuries the day before, or that day maybe. I don't know, but just thin bench for a day or so.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, is when you have a mental, it's when you get stuck and then someone comes in and just absolutely lights it up and you're like, what do we have to do to get to do something here, or please let this game end in the next 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised, Brian. I mean, I've heard it from Brian. Yeah, he's not a fan of Harbor Park, but that does not reflect the city, just the stadium.
Yeah. Yeah, just I like that
turn around. Just 360. Or not 360, 180. 180. Everybody be happy. Get the Norfolk skyline, it'd be great. Nobody wants to.
Yeah, it doesn't have that same ambiance when you're looking at like construction cranes and like everything. It's like maybe they're going for like a San Francisco thing, but yeah, really gritty.
Blue collar city.
I went to a game at Charlotte. I actually saw the Tides play in 21 in Charlotte. That might have been like the first weekend Adley was there. Great stadium, by the way. What was that 21 season like playing with Adley though? Because he, we all know what he is now at the major league level, but seeing him for the first time, like what was that experience like playing with Adley?
Yeah, Adley's one of the few guys that I've played with or against, frankly, that match up to the hype in every way. Honestly, I mean, there was some joke we had where he did something dumb, I don't know, and jokingly dumb, like nothing serious, and then we were all like, oh, we found a flaw. There it is. There's his one flaw. We found it. Now we can all exhale. But no, he's just a great guy. Very quickly, like somebody I bonded with, became good friends with, in a matter of really getting to know him over the course of a few months. I got to meet him here and there. be around him sparingly before last season, but last season just getting close to him and finding out what he's all about, really. And he lives up to every inch of the hype. And he's a great guy to be around, a great guy to have in the locker room. Honestly, he keeps things light. He gets his work done. I can't say enough good things about him.
Yeah. Ryan, same thing for you.
Yeah. I mean, that was you when people come in with a big recognition, it can go two ways. You can either they have the hype and there's some sort of persona around it, or it can be the other case where they're just, they're just their own identity. And Adley came in as all the hype came around for him, but he was just this calm, collected, go about his work extremely hard, treats others well. And then the thing is, when you're around him, my thing when I always would compare, like when we talk about Gunnar and Adley, someone's like, well, you don't think Adley's good? I'm like, well, those are the things you sit there and you go, he's good at this. Oh, he's good at that. So you just become so, it just is normal that he's so good at 10 things, that you're like, well, yeah, like, is he bad at something? That's what that Nev was referring to. You're just like, it's not like it wasn't like, for me, I wasn't overwhelmed being like, oh my gosh, like his talent's unbelievable. You just stare and you just marvel. Are you actually bad at something? Because there's no what's the phrase? There's no weakness in the armor. Like that's what it seems like with that.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's a great guy. Every sense of the word.
He's also really good at TikTok too. He just dropped a new one this past week. He just seems like a delight, like a really like great character guy to bus rides, long plane rides. Like I feel like you said, there's no bad part about him.
Yeah, that's I think the best part about his growing social media presence is you can find out he's just a dork like the rest of us, and just making some jokes. Just it's really his personality. Honestly, he likes to entertain people. He likes to people laugh, and it's cool to see on the internet because we see it all the time. But just the everyday fan doesn't get to see that side of him, and I think it would make him love him even more.
Did he ever ask you to be into TikTok? I know my favorite one was like Johnny Reiser and there's another guy, but yeah, doing a little lip sync, whatever you want to call it. He never asked you to do those?
I never had the pleasure, but I think we'll spare everybody that anyway.
I don't know, man. Yeah, you missed out. We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from the official sponsor of Not For Long Media and the Breaking Bats podcast, the Original Fudge Kitchen. It is a staple of the Jersey Shore with 6 locations in Cape May, Wildwood, North Wildwood, Stone Harbor, and Ocean City. The Original Fudge Kitchen makes all of their fudge in-store guaranteeing a delicious product, so stop by and let them know that Not For Long Media and Breaking Bats sent you. Check them out online at fudgekitchens.com as they are shipping fudge and sweet treats all across the country. Now back to the episode. Jumping ahead though, like when you did get called up to the O's in 21, like how special of a day was that for you? And like, who was the first person you called when you got the news?
Oh, I called my dad immediately. It was kind of a up in the air situation. I didn't know really officially until I called and asked. So it wasn't as climatic and theatric as you might think, like, hey, you're going to the show. Congratulations. I got a call about midnight the night before. Hey, we need you to go pack your bags. Because that night Mountcastle wore one in the hand and traded the day before or something like that. And it was basically, we're not sure what the situation is, but you need to go to Chicago. And so frantically packing your bags, like, do I pack for a week? Do I pack for a month? Do I pack for the rest of the year? And just getting 2 hours of sleep essentially, because I'm taking the first flight out. So yeah, I finally called because there was a bunch of stuff like on Twitter, stuff like that. But I finally called our travel guy, or not the travel guy, but one of the assistant GMs. And it's like, hey, is this happening? It's like, oh yeah, we're activating you. I was like, okay, so that was my welcome to the show moment. Called my dad. Called my dad. And at the time he was really sick. He had a great mixture of COVID and bacterial infection at the same time. He had just been released from the hospital. He was on some heavy antibiotics. He lost a ton of weight. And that was probably the hardest part about, I mean, there wasn't many hard parts about it, but that was a crushing blow, knowing he wasn't going to be there. We'd always kind of talk about that moment contract he signed on the coaching side, since it kind of became a reality that I could be a big leaguer one day, was no matter what, doesn't matter. Like, I get a day to go watch my son play in the big leagues on his debut. And the time he was with the Yankees, and Cashman was more than happy to put that in the contract for him. And then he got sick at the wrong time, and so he had to watch it from the couch. So I got called up on a Friday. I was supposed to make my debut on the Friday, but we got rained out, so we had a doubleheader the next day. But that ended up providing the opportunity for all my family members, my close family members, my friends, to red eye that night and make it to the game the next day. And so it was a great special moment. I still have the same core group of friends from my high school days. A couple of guys that made it were on my high school team that I was talking about earlier. And just kind of, it really took a village, I guess, to get me where I was at that point. Like, I was on the field, but there were countless people that got me to that moment, and I couldn't have done it without them. So it was an awesome moment to spend with them after the day was done.
Was there a game that what was the first game he was able to make it out and see you play in person?
When the Angels came to town last year, that was the first time he saw me play in the big leagues. So the first two games, it was a 4-game series. The first two games were the last 2 days of his suspension from the Mariners-Angels scuffle. And so he watched it in the GM's box, and he said he hated every moment of it because he's got his team. He's an interim manager. He's trying to. It's essentially an audition for him. He eventually got the job this year, but it's his team out there. Like, he's got his job's on the line too. But when I come up, there's that internal battle of he wants me to do well, but yeah, he said he hated every second of it. He would much prefer to watch from the stands or from the couch.
Absolutely. Yeah. Ryan, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, no, I was just remembering it's got to be, those moments. It's cool. I never got to experience any of that, but I know my dad and my grandfather had moments, but there was different cases on the same team. So I just know it's a cool blend of what's happening. And then for you though, too, on another sense, I mean, did you ever want to, well, I shouldn't say you want to play well regardless, but I mean, would it have been something if you put it to him specifically? Would that have been a good talking point, or what you guys do?
For such a hard O my dad comes off of as I behind closed doors, he would have been happy regardless. I think he would have done a quiet fist bump when I got home or something. He would have directed his anger at the loss as a whole potentially, but he would probably try to separate him into two separate memories of, we lost a game and my son got the job done. But at the end of the day, like, I know he's rooting for me. That's why he hated it so much, because he knew he probably shouldn't be. But I think any parent can't help it, especially one as supportive as him.
No
That's
doubt.
True.
I did want to go back though. I think your first MLB home run, I went back and saw the video of that up in Toronto. Third deck. That'd be one of the coolest things ever. Like, can you take me through that at bat? Were you looking for a specific pitch, and how good did it feel coming off the bat? That thing looked amazing.
That was one of the few major league at bats that going into it, I had a pretty constructive plan for. I mean, I always try to have a plan, but I had gotten to face Ryu luckily enough a few times in spring training. So I think I had 3 at bats off him up into that at bat. So I at least had some comfort in knowing, okay, I know what this guy's got. But yeah, I was just trying to get him up, use the whole field, and run around those bases, especially after where the ball ended up. It was just this weightlessness of chills, honestly, of I ran around first base, and Vladdy's got his hands on his shoulders, looking at me, or on his hips, looking at me like that. And if there's actually the clip that's usually on MLB, you can kind of see me for a second almost start laughing, and then I kind of just put my head down, try to clear it, because we were also kind of getting our ass kicked. I think it was the last game of the year, and it was already 7-0 in the fourth. I think I let off the fourth. So it wasn't something I could outwardly express enjoy, but just the thoughts in my head of like, holy shit, I just did that. That was awesome. And something you always try to chase, honestly. But as I was around the bases, I was thinking of my friends or my family back home watching TV, all screaming at the TV. That's all I can remember thinking of, because it was pretty quiet. We were on the road, and so those replays were going through my head, and it was a pretty cool moment.
Did you get the ball back?
I did get the ball back. So it went into a box. It actually just missed the top row and went right underneath that facade and into one of the boxes. And the boxes was, I guess, some Little League team. Some kid on the team must have had a really rich dad. But so the next day, said rich dad also got him field passes for BP. And so he brought the ball back to me. And that was really cool of him. I brought out a bat for whoever. I don't know. I just signed it and gave it. But yeah, that's something, fans don't have to do that. So you always got to show your appreciation when they do give a ball back.
Yeah, that would have been like a bad situation though if he was just like, it's mine, I'll keep it. I wonder how often you think that happens, where it's like the fan is like, no, I caught it, I'll just keep it.
Yeah, it was actually the next year when I saw them. So I hit the home run. It was the last day of the season. It wasn't until the following year that they came back on the field. So and now that I'm remembering it, I got the ball back that night. But I saw the family the next year, and made sure to pay them my respects.
I love that.
Where does that ball?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, so for Christmas, I framed it with the bat I hit it with, and gave it to my dad. That same Christmas I gave my jerseys to my grandparents, the home and the road jersey. So my first home jersey, and then the jersey I wore on my debut. And that's just something that was one of the coolest things I've been able to do of without them, none of this would happen. And they've been with me every step of the way. So being able to, in the smallest sense of the meaning, give back, and show them my appreciation was a really cool moment for me.
You've had a lot of special moments throughout your major league career. We just talked about your first home run. Where does exchanging the lineup card with your dad, I think you touched on it a little bit earlier, when the Orioles were playing the Angels last year, where does that rank on terms of that?
Yeah, that's up there. I mean, it's hard to rank them, but it's hard not to put that one at the top, really, of just something so special, honestly. Not many families get to do that. And another moment of kind of like, look how far we've come. Just taking that all in. And every time sometimes it pops up on my Instagram feed of just some random reel from a fan account of not even fans of me, just like baseball, sports, at whatever, and so that's kind of surreal. And people send me the stuff on Instagram too, like, oh, just saw this, so it's pretty unique and something I don't take for granted. It was a really cool day.
Yeah. Ryan, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, no, it's, and all the things that we talk about of moments and the stresses of the season, the grind, everything that happens, it's the romantic side of baseball, and how like family oriented the sport really is, and how rare it is to have moments like that with family on these stages. You never take those for granted. And that's something that I learned from my family members. Like I said, I never got to experience that with myself, but my dad would talk about it a lot with my uncle and my grandfather. And I guess in those moments, it's glad you appreciated the moment, and you can look back and be like, this really is so surreal. And only a few people, in the whole sports industries can say that they can have a moment like that. So for me, it always like kind of gets me watching it with Nev, because like I know knowing Nev and seeing the relationship, how much he's so family oriented, be able to share a moment like that on the biggest stage, is just awesome. So that's all I have on that.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it's something that's pretty impossible to replicate, that a feeling like that, honestly. The only thing I can think come close if I get that opportunity, a similar opportunity with my brother,
Yeah.
I will absolutely lose it that day. I mean, I don't. The Contreras brothers kind of did a similar thing, and the older brother Wilson's the older one, right? Yeah. He's the one crying. His little brother's over there laughing at him, and it's like that'll definitely be me. There's not many people. There's no one I pull for harder than my little brother.
I can attest to that, Justin. Every time we would be there, Nev was always following his brother in college. It's Baylor, right?
Yep. No, he's with Dodgers.
Every time, and like that was a cool thing to just see how much you care for him. That was awesome, and now he's starting his own path. Dodgers, right?
Yeah, he's paving his own way. He was kind of in a weird situation with the draft because he had the COVID year.
Yep.
Excuse me. So he actually had 2 more years of eligibility after what was his junior year. It was 3rd year of college. And he's also super young for his age. So he's 21. He's currently 21. He doesn't turn 22 till the end of August. So it was kind of like he was a draft eligible sophomore with another, year. And he's somebody legitimately that had he gone back to school, he signed the 11th round. He got some overslot money to kind of coax him away from going back to school. But yeah, he's got a lot of potential. He's the definition of projectable. He's always been a late bloomer, but he's a much better athlete than I am. He's got a cannon for an arm, and he's starting to put on some good muscle too. So somebody to watch out for.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, how does your game compare to his? Does he play the same positions as you guys do?
So he's a hell of an outfielder. He's actually been on the Sports Center top plays twice for robbing home runs while he was at Baylor. He played most of his innings in Baylor in the outfield, and yeah, he's a hell of an outfielder. And he also had some innings in the infield, so they're kind of trying to see if they can make a utility monster out of him to be able to plug him in anywhere. It's just kind of where the game's going right now too. So they know they have outfield in their back pocket for him if the infield doesn't work out. So he's still putting in some work at 3rd and 1st right now too.
I had a follow-up off of that too, where it's like, I know that you play all the corners. Like, is it both corner outfields and both corner infields? Like, how much work do you have to put in on each one of those positions to be ready at a moment's notice to go in at either one of those?
Yeah, that's definitely something I take pride in over the last couple of years of just being able to plug me in anywhere really. I'm no Andrew Jones in the outfield, but I try to get the job done. I'm out there first and foremost, usually because I'm hitting, and that's a way to get me in the lineup. But it's something I'm taking pride into for sure, being able to not really worry about me if you have to put me in anywhere on the field.
Ryan, did you say you played the outfield at some point in the minors like that? How was that experience for you?
Well, the one game specifically I was talking about, I played right field because we had a lot of injuries, and I feel fine doing it, just hadn't been put out there. I like it, I was just so fired up because no one would let me go out there. I'm like, I'm not that bad of an athlete, I swear. I think everyone thinks I'm so good. What?
I was gonna say outfield can be your best friend or your worst enemy, because there's some days where the game's going by quick, guys punching everybody out, getting a lot of ground balls even, and you just kind of run out there, hang out for a little bit, run back in, game goes by quick. But there's other games, guys start getting hit around a little bit, it starts becoming a track meet. So there's some balance there of where it can be. When I first started going out there, the first couple of games I had, this was in AA in 2019, I was like, why does everybody say outfield is harder on your legs? Like, this is way easier. I don't have to get low. I don't have to jump step before every pitch. I kind of just stand there, step, get ready, get foul ball. And then we had a marathon game, I remember, and I was like, oh, okay, this is what people are talking about.
Yeah. And the only time it's not as bad of a marathon is unfortunately if the ball is going out of the ballpark, which then that's not making anyone happy.
No,
because then you're just sitting out there thinking, man, this is tough. And then you're thinking, well, hopefully we have a longer inning. Oh, it's a short inning. We're back out here. Oh no. And it's not a good feeling.
You get some respect for your teammates too, because I try to keep the ball in front of me, not be a liability, still make some solid plays when I can. But the really good outfielders out there, they make it look so easy because the ball's in the air, you just go run toward it. Well, that simple when you're actually out there. So a lot of factors: spin on the ball, wind, how hard, trying to figure out how hard the ball's hit when the sound hasn't gotten to you yet, stuff like that. Those guys are super talented, and they're difference makers for sure.
Hey, do you remember the guy on Gwinnett, Nev, the center fielder? Pache. That guy and his jumps, Justin, that guy could be in the other gap. He could be. I remember specifically, he was in the left center field gap and chased down a ball at the warning track in right center, not diving, not anything, just got it. It looked like he had zero chance of getting that.
Yeah, there's I'd say the biggest eye opener when I got to the big leagues of this is different. This is like, you know, because nowadays, like, a lot of people throw 100, you know, might not be as accurate or as consistent, but it's when you see 100 is 100. It's hard, and it's tough to hit no matter who's throwing it. But I'd say the biggest jump was watching the elite outfielders in the big leagues: Byron Buxton, Miles Straw, Cedric Mullins, and guys that you don't even realize, Brett Phillips, just go get the ball and really have an impact on the game by just catching a baseball in the outfield, really limiting that extra base, that extra 90 feet for the other team. It's something that just looks so easy on TV, but once you're actually out there doing it, you have a real appreciation for it.
That's what I always heard too. I have to imagine that, like, playing the outfield infrequently and then going on the road and doing it has to be one of the hardest things, because like the stadium lights are different. Like the backdrop is different when you're trying to chase like balls. And I hadn't even like mentioned like playing at the Trop. Like, am I on the right path there where it's like, if it's like, you're just kind of thrown into a visiting park as like a corner outfielder, that's like, that has to be a big challenge.
Yeah, that's, you know, where you have to be responsible and, you know, make your to-do list when you go to a new stadium, and that first day do a little extra work of, you know, really getting the lay of the land when you haven't been somewhere. I haven't had the pleasure of playing outfield in the Trop yet, but that place is not easy. The sky is the same color as the ball. You know, it's every field has its own kind of uniqueness and its own personality. So that's some guys are on top of. That's just the side of the game that's really cool to me that not everybody gets to see. Just the real preparation that goes into playing a major league game.
Absolutely. Brian, I just have one last question, then rapid fire if you got anything else.
No, fire away.
So my last like real question, going to the Tigers this year, like how excited are you to be a part of an organization where potentially you could have like large chunks of playing time handed to you? And it's also like you said, your dad played there for a few years.
Yeah. As a player, all you can really hope for is opportunity. You know, you can live with the fact of, you know, if you weren't good enough, you weren't good enough, but feeling like you never got a shot is something that a lot of guys struggle with, you know. And so I'm very thankful for every second I'm in the big leagues and every second I get to play this game. And I'm very excited to be with Detroit. And I think we're heading in the right direction. I've got nothing but good things to say about Baltimore. Excuse me. When I got traded over there, it was Elias's second full year, but it was the pandemic year. So really it was kind of a weird year, but I could tell that there was a direction. I could tell that there was a plan. I could tell that there was light at the end of the tunnel. And I think they're starting to see it in Baltimore now. And so now being traded over here, start of a new regime, similar aspects in the rebuild where you can see there's a method and a plan and light at the end of the tunnel again. So I'm excited to be a part of it.
I love that, dude. Well, hey, wishing the best of luck this year. I had a couple like fun rapid fire, like, you know, wrap up questions here for you. I saw on your Instagram that you and Kyle Stowers have known each other for a long time. Was that Little League or travel ball, or how long have you known Kyle?
Yeah, travel ball. I started just playing. We played travel ball together. I think we were 11, maybe 12. And yeah, I mean, another guy. I kind of, you know, we're only 4 months apart, but when he's got drafted a couple years after me, he went to college, and being there for his debut, being there for when he got called up to AAA, I had a little bit of sense of pride too. Like, you know, this is somebody I care about, somebody I go back a long ways with, and seeing your buddies and your friends succeed is nothing like it.
even back then, could he hit the ball a long way?
Yeah, Kyle was honestly, he was an amazing pitcher, and he talks about it now because he was a great pitcher in college too, but he hated that everybody thought he was a pitcher because he loved to hit and he knew he could hit. And so I think he talks about it now of like he like self-sabotaged his pitching career because he wanted to prove to everybody that he could hit. But back in the day, and he's one of those guys you play catch with and you can just feel the ride, feel the ball go through your glove really. And he threw some fuzz. I think he got up probably like 94-ish with, like he said, like not really even trying. But yeah, he's just an all-around athlete. He played basketball in high school. He was dunking on kids, and yeah, he's a fun guy to be around.
I did not know that. I'm excited to watch a full season of this now. Yeah, I'll have to watch out for the cannon out there in the outfield.
Yeah.
Walkout song. What do you have as your walkout song? And then is there like a reasoning or like reason like you picked it out?
Yeah. Last year, my walkout song, which I will probably take into this year, is "Coming Undone" by Korn. A little heavy metal. I'm not a heavy metal guy. I'm really not. If I'm by myself working out, there's a few songs that'll really get me going if I'm in the last set. But other than that, I'm not a huge music guy. Like I listen to a lot of podcasts. I don't really put on music in the car. But I have a few songs where if I need a last set to really a song get me through that last set, and that's one of them, and it just gets me going. It's got a good start too. Now with the pitch clock too, you can't like have a cool build up, but that song gets right to the point.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, it gets right to the point. It starts out hard and it stays that way, and it's a good one, I think.
Ryan, baseball strategies are changing, Justin. It's not just on the field; it's everything else.
Walk-up song, everything. Get used to it.
That's an unintended consequence, but I guess you're right. Yeah, like there would be sometimes you go to like Orioles games or like you just like some guys became like synonymous with their walkout song. They let that thing ride for like a minute, I feel like. But yeah, I guess that'll be
that clip of Harper like walking up in the World Series, hitting the first pitch bomb. Like you can watch that clip for, I mean, it takes like a minute and a half, which is a little excessive, but it's a cool moment that it's not going to be part of the game anymore, which as a whole probably for the best, but it's gonna suck that little things like that. I'm interested to see how they let the clock work, because it's really all on the clock manager, honestly, when they press that button to start it. But I think part of baseball is a home field advantage, and you think about Edwin Diaz with the Mets. Mm-hmm. With the trumpets, like the whole place gets bumping, and as a player, like you feel that you much more like it when it's on your side. But those Padre games, some of the coolest moments I've watched on a baseball field growing up, and still, were Trevor Hoffman walking out to Hell's Bells, like awesome. And it took a while, frankly, but that was part of the experience, and that's what MLB is trying to get, is the best fan experience. Where they make all their money watching at home is not, they don't get that experience, but that's why people come to the games. That's why people they come to hope to see Trevor Hoffman pitch in the ninth. Moments like that. How many people went to Mets games just in the hope of watching Diaz walk out to trumpets? That little thing is going to be gone, which is kind of a shame.
Yeah. Closer entrances. That's the best part about being in there in person, because the lights are flickering. Like there's a hype video going. Like David Bednar's Renegade's my favorite. Like it's just, I hope we don't lose out on some of that.
I got to check that one out, because that's a big Steelers tradition. I didn't even know he walked out to Renegade.
It is the coolest. Yeah.
We'll work on the clock managers. We'll just, any good walk-up song, anything where the fans are getting going, maybe just your hand doesn't click the button for like 10 seconds.
Let it be known that Rip wants to hear Bednar walk out to Renegade just like they do at Heinz Field, or formerly known as Heinz Field.
Yeah, but I'm still I'm going to clarify, Ravens fan, but it is cool. Renegade is cool for all the Steelers fans. I will say that, but Ravens by 30.
Let the Omar whistle
Justin.
play.
Yeah, keep rolling, Justin.
Yeah. I just had a couple last ones for you. Over the years, was there one teammate that's made you laugh the hardest?
This guy on this podcast is one of them, for reasons we shall have to talk about later. But there's been a few out there. Yeah, it's tough to say. I had a buddy, I haven't talked to him in a while, but Max George, with Colorado. I spent a couple years in A-ball with him. There's some funny guys in this game you run into, but and that's what it's really all about. Like, anybody will tell you when they retire, they don't actually miss playing baseball. It'd be cool to hit one more home run, run around the bases. But I mean, when you get done with the game, the thing you miss most is that locker room. So
I've always
relationships. It's the relationships that everything you do in life is not. It's tremendous, but if you do it without the people around you, then it doesn't have as much meaning. You know, it's the same thing with baseball. Like, it's awesome to go out there and to rake, play well, you know, have success. But if you're not doing it with a group that you enjoy being with, you know, it really doesn't have the same meaning. That was the biggest thing for me retiring. Was just all the memories of the people I was with from every level. So yeah. I'm right there with you. And yes, Justin, a little bit off the record, we'll take the earmuffs off.
Yeah.
And one more guy, Ben Bowden. I believe he's with the Phillies now. I still keep in touch with him, send him a meme every now and then. Just hilarious because was a closer when I was with him. And he's got his headphones in, he's dancing. It's 40 minutes before the game, and he's not going to pitch for another 3 hours, but he's got his hot pack on. He's in his sliders and his beats on, and he's getting ready then, which I always thought was funny. But he's a great guy to have around, something to laugh at, something to keep it nice and loose.
I love that. When you were coming up to the Rockies, I was looking at the names of the minor league teams that you played for. Is there a favorite out of the Hawks, Tourists, Jet Hawks, and Yard Goats? Is that any of those?
I loved the town of Asheville, which was the Tourists, Asheville, North Carolina. I thought it was a great, like, kind of unknown town in the mountains, really. And for the people that have been there, they love playing in that city. Stadium's pretty cool too. It feels just like an old time baseball field without, you know, too many of the drawbacks of being at an actually old field, you know. That was a great place to play. Until the big leagues, the Hartford Stadium was the nicest stadium I had been in, just as far as coming to the field every day. And they drew some good fans, and it was a very new, updated stadium. Good place to hit too. And so that was a fun stadium to call your home for half the year. So yeah, those two rank up in the top.
So would you rather be a yard goat or a tourist?
Probably yard goat, because that means you're in Double-A, not Low-A.
Okay, fair enough.
I liked Jet Hawks. That would be like, I've never heard of that before, but I would like play there forever if I could.
Yeah, that was a cool year. It was a great year to hit. That is probably the most hitter friendly baseball field in all of baseball. It just blows 35 miles an hour straight to right center field every night. There's been more wind outs than rain outs in that franchise's history. And unfortunately, it didn't make the cut when MLB took over the minor league system and kind of realigned everything. So I don't believe anybody plays there anymore, but it's a good place to hit.
It's so funny. All right, last question. What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Well, probably something my dad said. But just maybe nothing like directly, but just the idea of really enjoying your time at the yard, honestly. It's something not everybody gets to experience. And, you know, even when it's 100 degrees and you're in some place that's really humid, or, you know, you're not doing so great, like those moments you start talking about for the rest of your life, really. So just staying in the moment and just enjoying yourself, really.
I love that. That's all I had.
If that's all Justin has, then I don't have anything else for you, Nev. But awesome having you on. Thank you. We'll have to for everyone else. We'll share some stories at the right time. There's a lot more, but hey, take care of yourself, man. Maybe go get yourself a nice steak on Justin, and then
send him a Venmo. But yeah, thanks
perfect.
guys. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. I'll come back anytime you want me.